3 Kryn warships tried to run. They broke formation and burned their engines hard, fleeing toward the edge of the system. Admiral Kang watched them go and felt no satisfaction, only cold determination. Lieutenant Han, launch your wing. Disable those ships. I want prisoners. Lieutenant Han Ji was 29 years old and had logged more combat flight hours than any other pilot in the fleet. She sat in her fighter cockpit, hands steady on the controls, and smiled. Copy that, Admiral. Striker wing, form up on me. We are going hunting. 12 human fighters launched from the Incheon. They were small and fast, built for pilots who could handle extreme acceleration. Han pushed her fighter to 9 Gs, feeling the pressure suit squeeze her body to keep blood flowing to her brain. Most alien pilots could not survive 5 Gs. Human pilots trained at 8. The Kryn cruiser Bloodhunt was the fastest ship in their fleeing formation. Its captain, Sub-Commander Vextok, watched his sensors and cursed. The human fighters were gaining on them despite his ship's full engine burn. Impossible. We are at maximum speed. They should not be able to catch us. His tactical officer's voice was thin with fear. Sir, the human fighters are pulling 9 Gs. Their pilots are withstanding acceleration that should kill them. Vextok understood then. These were Deathworlders. They did not just survive their hostile world. They thrived in conditions that would kill his crew. He had seen the battle reports. He had watched human ships take damage that would cripple Kryn vessels and keep fighting. He had heard about the Marines who boarded the flagship in high gravity. Activate point defenses. Target those fighters. The Kryn cruiser opened fire with laser batteries. Han saw the beams tracking toward her and rolled her fighter into a corkscrew pattern, breaking the target lock. Around her, the other pilots did the same, each one executing evasive maneuvers that would have torn apart conventional craft. Striker 2 hit them with EMPs. Let us fry their electronics and copy, Striker lead, launching. The electromagnetic pulse missiles streaked toward the Bloodhunt. The Kryn tried to shoot them down, but the missiles were designed for point defense evasion. They detonated against the cruiser's hull, washing the ship in electromagnetic radiation. The Bloodhunt went dark. Engines died. Weapons went offline. Life support flickered. In the darkness, Vextok realized he had failed. The humans had disabled his ship without destroying it. They wanted prisoners. They wanted evidence. They wanted justice. All crew, prepare for boarding, he said quietly. Han circled the disabled cruiser, checking for tricks. Admiral, Target 1 is disabled. Moving to Target 2. The second Kryn ship, seeing its companion's fate, immediately transmitted a surrender. The third ship tried to run but was disabled by the destroyer Daegu before Han's wing could reach it. The battle was over. 7 Kryn warships destroyed, 3 captured. The Valorian convoy was safe, but the real fight was just beginning. Admiral Kang stood in the Incheon's briefing room 3 days later, facing a holographic transmission from the Galactic Council. 12 council representatives appeared around the table, their expressions ranging from grateful to furious. The Valorian representative, Ambassador Kilreth, spoke first. On behalf of the Valorian people, I express our deepest gratitude to Admiral Kang and the human fleet. They saved 47,000 lives without hesitation. They are heroes. The Orothian representative, a large insectoid being, clicked his mandibles in disapproval. They also violated Council military protocols. They deployed without authorization. They engaged in combat in neutral space. They refused to accept enemy surrender until their conditions were met. Kang listened without expression. He had expected this. The Council observer, Prexnal, a neutral species invited to investigate the incident, spoke next. His voice was calm and factual. I have reviewed all battle recordings and communications. The Kryn Dominion fired first on civilian targets. They attempted to enslave refugees. They committed genocide. Under Council law, any member species may respond to distress calls from civilians under attack. The humans followed this law. They used excessive force, the Orothian insisted. 7 ships destroyed. 600 Kryn dead. The Kryn had 8 warships attacking 6 civilian transports, Prexnal replied. They had already killed 9,000 refugees before the humans arrived. The human response was proportional to the threat. Additionally, my analysis shows that humans offered surrender terms to every Kryn vessel after their commander was neutralized. Those who surrendered were treated according to Council law. Those who continued fighting were destroyed. This is standard military doctrine. Kang spoke for the first time. The Kryn fired on civilians. They attempted genocide. Under human law and council law, this requires an immediate response. I gave that response. If the council wants me to apologize for saving lives, I will not. If the council wants me to wait for authorization while civilians die, I cannot. I did my duty. My people did their duty. We saved 47,000 lives. That is what matters. The chamber was silent. Then the Valorian ambassador spoke again. I support Admiral Kang. The humans answered our call when no one else could. They risked their lives for strangers. This is what the Galactic Council claims to stand for. The humans simply did it instead of talking about it. Other representatives began to speak, some in support, some in protest. The debate went on for hours. Finally, the council voted. The official decision was a reprimand for violating military protocols, balanced with a commendation for saving civilian lives. Kang accepted both with equal indifference. But something had changed. Over the next week, several council species quietly contacted Earth's diplomatic corps. They asked about defense treaties. They inquired about human military capabilities. They wanted to know if humans would respond to other distress calls. The Valorian people created a memorial for the 41 human Marines who died saving their civilians. It was a crystal structure that caught starlight and reflected it in rainbow patterns. On the memorial were the names of every Marine who fell, inscribed in both English and Valorian script. Beneath the names was a simple phrase: "They came when we called." They gave everything to save strangers. This is what heroes do. Captain Park Bo's destroyer Busan was officially credited with destroying 3 Kryn vessels single-handedly. She received the Star of Valor but told reporters she had just done her job. Lieutenant Han and her fighter wing were commended for their skill in disabling fleeing enemy ships without losing a single pilot. Han joked that it was easier than her training runs. Commander Lee Sang was promoted to colonel and given command of the entire Marine Expeditionary Force. He visited every wounded Marine personally and attended every funeral for those who did not come home. Sergeant Nam Ho received the Medal of Honor for his actions in rescuing the Valorian prisoners. He was uncomfortable with the attention and said he had just followed his training. Corporal Shin Yu recovered from her injuries and returned to duty 3 months later. The Valorian prisoners she saved sent her letters thanking her. She kept them all in her locker. Private Bei Wu, the youngest Marine, was given an early promotion to corporal. He still had nightmares about the battle, but Dr. Choi helped him work through his trauma. He told her he would do it again despite the fear, because saving lives mattered more than his comfort. Captain Ziltera recorded a message that was broadcast across the galactic net. She appeared in hologram form, her crystalline body glowing with sincere emotion. For years, many species feared humanity. We called them dangerous. We called them violent. We avoided them because they came from a death world and we assumed that made them monsters. We were wrong. When we needed help, when every other species turned away or said they could not come in time, the humans answered. They did not ask for payment. They did not hesitate. They simply came. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are violent. But they direct that danger and that violence at those who prey on the weak. We feared them. We should have trusted them. Because when you call for help, and when hell itself comes to save you, you stop caring where your saviors came from. You just thank the universe they exist. The message went viral. Species across the galaxy watched it and reconsidered their opinions of humanity. The humans were still feared, but now they were also respected. And more importantly, they were called upon. Other distress signals began arriving at Earth's military stations. A mining colony under pirate attack. A medical transport ambushed by raiders. A research station threatened by a rogue military faction. Each time the humans responded. Each time they came in force and ended the threat. The Deathworld response network was no longer a forbidden frequency used only in desperation. It became a lifeline, a promise, a guarantee that if you called for help, someone would answer, and that someone would be a human. Admiral Kang Tae stood on the observation deck of the Incheon 6 months after the Valorian rescue. Dr. Choi joined him, carrying 2 cups of bad coffee. "You are famous now," she said, handing him a cup. "The admiral who saved the Valorians. The man who taught the galaxy that humans are protectors, not threats." Kang sipped his coffee and grimaced. "Still terrible coffee." "Still terrible," she agreed. "But you did not answer my statement. I'm not famous. I am just a soldier who did his job. The Marines are the heroes." But as he reached for the controls, he made a different decision. He activated the self-commander Lee Sang received the warning, just as his squad reached the bridge level. The message came through in broken Kryn language, transmitted by someone inside the ship. Self-destruct active. 2 minutes. Prisoners in brig, deck 7. All squads, we have a problem, Lee announced over the Marine channel. Ship is set to self-destruct. 2 minutes. There are prisoners aboard, Valorian civilians in the brig. Sergeant Nam Ho was 3 decks below with his squad. Sir, we can reach the brig in 90 seconds, but we will not have time to evacuate everyone. Lee made the calculation instantly. The math was brutal and simple. They could save themselves and leave the prisoners, or they could try to save the prisoners and risk everyone. Squad 3 and 4, proceed to the brig. Get those prisoners out. Everyone else, evacuate to drop pods. Move. Sir, you need to evacuate too, Nam said. I am going to the bridge. That bastard general is not getting away with this. Nam did not argue. He ran. The brig was locked with heavy blast doors. Nam's squad carried breaching charges, small nuclear-shaped explosives designed to cut through starship hulls. They placed the charges and everyone took cover. The explosion tore through the doors. Inside, 80 Valorian prisoners huddled in the corner, their crystalline bodies glowing with fear. They looked at the armored humans with terrified eyes. We are here to help, Corporal Shin Yu said, her voice projecting through her helmet speakers. She was the squad medic, trained to deal with alien biology. Follow us! Stay close. We have maybe 60 seconds. The Valorians tried to move, but they were weak from captivity. Several could barely walk. Nam made another split-second decision. Everyone grab a civilian. Carry them if you need to. The Marines each took a Valorian, cradling the fragile aliens against their armor. The Valorians weighed almost nothing. Their crystalline bodies were light despite their size. The Marines ran toward the nearest breach point, armored boots pounding against metal decks. 30 seconds. Commander Lee reached the bridge. The doors were sealed. He did not bother with the controls. He just ripped the emergency manual release and forced the doors open with his armor's servo-enhanced strength. Inside, General Thaxel stood alone. His bridge crew was dead around him, shot by their own commander. The massive Kryn general held a plasma rifle in 2 of his forearms. Come to kill me, human? Come to arrest you, Lee said. You are guilty of war crimes. You will face trial. I will face nothing. Thaxel gestured at the countdown timer. In 20 seconds, this ship will be fragments. We die together. No, Lee said calmly. I am leaving. You can come with me or die here. Your choice, he turned and walked away. Behind him, Thaxel screamed in rage and fired. The plasma bolts hit Lee's armor, scorching but not penetrating. Lee kept walking. 15 seconds. Nam's squad reached the hull breach where their drop pods waited. But there was a problem. The pods were designed for Marines in armor, not fragile civilian passengers. We cannot fit them in the pods, one Marine said. Shin looked at the Valorians, then at her own armor. She made her decision. Everyone remove helmets. We will share our air. Corporal Yoon, help me set up a group seal. Corporal, we cannot. That is an order. Move. The Marines removed their helmets and activated their armor's emergency protocols. The suits could maintain pressure for short periods. They formed a tight group around the Valorians, their armored bodies creating a protective shell. 10 seconds. Commander Lee ran. Behind him, General Thaxel stood on his bridge, alone with his dead crew and his pride. The countdown reached 0. The explosion tore through the Talon of Dominion. The reactor went critical and the ship came apart in a ball of fusion fire. The blast wave expanded outward, tearing through decks and bulkheads. Admiral Kang watched from the Incheon as the Kryn flagship died. Life signs. Scanning. Sir, I am reading marine beacons. Multiple contacts. They are in the debris field. Deploy all rescue pods. Get them out of there now. The rescue operation took 20 minutes. Human ships moved through the debris, using tractor beams and recovery pods to pull Marines and refugees from the wreckage. One by one, the signals were recovered. Commander Lee was found floating in space, his armor scarred but intact. He was pulled into a recovery shuttle, conscious but battered. Sergeant Nam's squad was found together, still forming a protective circle around the Valorian prisoners. Their armor had held. All 80 Valorians survived. Nam had a fractured arm and 2 broken ribs from the decompression, but he was alive. Corporal Shin had shielded 3 Valorians with her own body during the explosion. Her armor was cracked in 2 places. The medical team rushed her to surgery, but she was conscious and asking about her patients. Private Bei Wu, the youngest Marine in the unit, had saved 5 Valorians by carrying them in his arms through a collapsing corridor. He had burns on his legs and a concussion, but he refused treatment until the medics checked the civilians first. Final casualties: 7 Kryn warships destroyed. 1 captured, 600 Kryn dead, General Thaxel dead by his own pride, 41 human Marines killed in action, 3 human ships damaged, 38,000 Valorian refugees saved. Dr. Choi moved through the medical bay, treating injured Marines and checking on the Valorian refugees. The crystalline aliens were traumatized but alive. Many kept asking the same question: why did the humans risk their lives for strangers? Captain Ziltara came aboard the Incheon 12 hours after the battle. She walked through corridors filled with purpose and discipline, past crew members who nodded respectfully. She was escorted to the medical bay where the rescued prisoners were being treated. She stopped in the doorway, seeing her people alive. 80 Valorians who should have died. They were being tended by human medics who worked with gentle efficiency, their large hands surprisingly delicate as they checked crystalline structures for damage. One of the prisoners saw her and began to glow with joy. "Captain, you called for help and they came. They saved us." Ziltara felt her bioluminescence pulse with emotion. She turned to the Marine standing guard at the door. "I need to meet your commander." "I need to thank him." The Marine nodded. "The Admiral is on the bridge, ma'am. I will take you there." Admiral Kang was reviewing battle reports when Captain Ziltara entered the bridge. He stood, a gesture of respect, and waited for her to approach. Up close, she could see the scars on his hands, the gray in his hair, the weight of command in his eyes. "Captain Ziltara," he said, speaking through a translator, "I am glad you survived." "You saved us," she said simply. "You came when no one else would. You risked your people's lives for strangers." "Why?" Kang considered the question. He could have given her the official answer: duty, protocol, council obligations. But he had learned that honesty served better. "Because you called for help," he said. "Because you were civilians under attack. Because it was the right thing to do. Your people died saving mine. 41 of your Marines." "Yes. Do you regret it?" Kang looked out the bridge window at the stars. "I regret that any of my people died. I regret that we were not faster. I regret that we could not save everyone. But do I regret coming? No, never. Those Marines knew what they were doing. They chose to stay and save your people. That is what we do. That is what makes us human." Ziltara was silent for a moment. Then she asked the question that had haunted her since reading Earth's database entry. "Your world? It is called a death world. A Class 12 gravity planet, hostile, lethal to most species. Is that true?" "Yes. And your people evolved there. You adapted to survive there." "Yes. That is why you are so strong, why you fight like this. Your entire evolution was war against your own planet." Kang shook his head slowly. "Earth tried to kill us, yes. Predators hunted us. Diseases killed us. Ice ages and droughts and floods and fires. But that is not why we fight. Then why? Because we learned something that comfortable species never had to learn. We learned that life is precious. We learned that survival requires cooperation. We learned that when someone needs help, you give it. Because one day you might need help too. Earth taught us to be strong, yes. But it also taught us to care. Strength without compassion is just cruelty. We had enough of that from our own planet. We do not need to add to it." Ziltara felt something shift in her understanding. She had read the warnings about humans. Dangerous, violent, aggressive. But standing here, talking to the scarred admiral who had risked everything to save strangers, she saw something else. Humans were dangerous, yes. But they were dangerous to those who preyed on the weak. They were violent, but they directed that violence at those who threatened innocence. They were aggressive, but they used that aggression to protect those who could not protect themselves. Earth had forged them in fire, but they had chosen what to do with that strength. "I need to report this to the Galactic Council," she said. "They will want to know what happened here." "I'm sure they will," Kang said dryly. "I imagine I will be writing many reports and apology letters." "Apology? You saved 47,000 lives." "Without authorization. Without following proper protocols. The Council likes forms and procedures. I ignored all of them." Ziltara's bioluminescence flared bright. "Then I will tell them that forms and procedures mean nothing when people are dying. I will tell them that humans answered." Captain Ziltara was preparing to die when space itself ripped open. The Valorian shields were at 8%. Another transport ship had just exploded. 38,000 refugees remained, huddled in the cargo holds, praying to gods that seemed to have abandoned them. The Kryn warships closed in like predators circling wounded prey. Then reality tore apart. Light poured through the hole in space, and 12 ships emerged at speeds that should have torn them apart. They came out of jump space directly into combat, their weapons already hot, their shields blazing. The sensor display screamed warnings in a language Ziltara had never heard. Unknown vessels detected. Configuration predatory. Weapons multiple. Threat level extreme. On the Kryn flagship, General Thaxel watched the newcomers appear, his forearms tensed. His tactical officer, Subcommander Rilix, worked frantically at his console. General, I am reading 12 warships. Unknown design. They emerged at combat velocity. That should be impossible. What species? Thaxel demanded. Scanning. General, the database identifies them as human vessels. Humans? Thaxel bared his teeth. The Deathworld species? The ones who only joined the Council last year. He laughed. They sent 12 ships against 8 Kryn warships. They are either brave or stupid. The largest human ship, the carrier Incheon, moved forward. Its weapons ports opened, and without warning, without hailing, without negotiation, it fired. Railgun rounds punched through space at a significant fraction of light speed. The Kryn had been fighting with energy weapons for centuries. Plasma cannons, particle beams, directed energy. They had shields designed to deflect those weapons. They were not designed for solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The first railgun round hit the Kryn cruiser Blood Price directly on the bow. The shield tried to form, tried to push the projectile away, but the kinetic energy was too much. The round punched through the shield like it was paper, through the armor like it was foil, and exploded inside the ship's reactor core. The Blood Price died in a flash of light. Return fire, Thaxel roared. All ships return fire. The Kryn fleet opened up with everything they had. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and fusion missiles streaked toward the human ships. The humans took the hits on their shields, and their shields held. Then the humans returned fire. The destroyer Busan, commanded by Captain Park Bo, accelerated directly toward the Kryn line. It moved at 8 Gs, acceleration that would turn most aliens into paste. Inside, Park sat in her command chair, breathing steadily against the pressure. Weapons range in 15 seconds, her tactical officer reported. Load nuclear mines. Prepare for close pass. Captain, that will bring us within 500 meters of their hull. Park smiled. I know. The Busan screamed past the Kryn cruiser Ravager's cry at point-blank range. As it passed, it deployed a chain of nuclear-pumped laser mines. The mines detonated in sequence, turning nuclear fire into directed energy beams that carved through the Kryn ship's hull like a cutting torch through ice. The Ravager's cry went dark. Life support failing, engines dead. One ship disabled, Park reported calmly. Moving to next target. On the Kryn flagship, Subcommander Rilix analyzed the human attack patterns, and horror crept into his voice. General, I have analyzed their ship design. These vessels are built for ramming. They have reinforced hulls, redundant systems, and armor designed to survive collisions. These are not normal warships. Wait, what do you mean? I mean they evolved their tactics on a world so hostile that their ships are designed to survive impacts that would destroy any other vessel. General, we need to retreat. Retreat? Thaxel backhanded his second officer, sending him sprawling. We are the Kryn Dominion. We do not retreat from primitives. But even as he spoke, another human destroyer crippled a Kryn frigate with a sustained railgun barrage. The humans were not fighting like civilized species. They did not maneuver carefully. They did not test defenses. They attacked with overwhelming force and terrifying speed. On the Incheon, Admiral Kang watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Status? 2 Kryn ships destroyed, 1 disabled. Minimal damage to our fleet. The Gwangju took a plasma hit. Shields at 60%. Continue the assault. Launch marine drop pods. Target the Kryn flagship. Commander Lee Sang grinned from the marine bay. Finally. Sitting in these pods while you ship drivers have all the fun? You will have your fun soon enough, Kang replied. Lee's battalion prepared for drop. 2,000 Marines in powered armor, each one trained to board hostile vessels and secure them. The drop pods were small, armored, and fast, designed to punch through enemy point defenses and deposit Marines directly into enemy ships. Most species considered boarding actions suicidal. Humans called it Tuesday. Drop in 30 seconds, Lee announced to his Marines. Remember your training. Watch your corners. Cover your squad mates. We go in hard, we secure fast, and we bring everyone home. These Kryn bastards fired on civilians. Show them what happens when you make humanity angry. The Marines roared their approval. On the Valorian command ship, Captain Ziltara watched the battle with disbelief. The humans had arrived less than 5 minutes ago, and they had already destroyed or disabled 3 Kryn warships. They fought with a ferocity that seemed insane. First officer, can you analyze their tactics? Pexon worked his console, his hands shaking. Captain, they are not following standard battle protocols. They close to knife-fighting range. They use kinetic weapons that most species abandoned as primitive. And their acceleration, Captain? Their ships are pulling 8 to 10 Gs. That should kill any crew. Unless their crew evolved on a high-gravity world, Ziltara said quietly. She pulled up the Earth data again. Class 12 gravity. These humans lived their entire lives in gravity that would crush most species. 8 Gs was uncomfortable for them. For the Valorians, it would be fatal. They are built for war, Pexon whispered. No, Ziltara said, watching a human destroyer execute a maneuver that defied physics. They are built for survival. War is just a side effect. The drop pods launched from the Incheon. 200 armored capsules accelerated toward the Kryn flagship at 12 Gs. Inside, the Marines waited in specially designed acceleration couches, their powered armor locked in place. General Thaxel saw them coming. Point defenses. Shoot them down. The Kryn laser batteries opened fire, destroying several pods, but most got through, and they hit the Talon of Dominion like meteors. The pods burned through the outer hull, through corridors, through bulkheads, and deployed their cargo. Commander Lee Sang was first out of his pod. His powered armor made him 7 feet tall, armored in composite plates that could take a direct plasma hit. His squad formed around him, weapons ready. Kryn Marines charged down the corridor, firing plasma rifles. Lee's armor absorbed the first few shots, and then he returned fire. Human weapons were old-fashioned, chemically propelled metal bullets. But at close range, they were devastating. The Kryn Marines fell. Lee's squad advanced, moving through the ship with practiced efficiency. Behind them, more pods breached the hull, more Marines poured in. This is Squad 1 we are in, Lee reported, encountering heavy resistance. Proceeding to the bridge. On the Kryn bridge, General Thaxel realized his mistake too late. The humans were not just destroying his ships. They were taking them. His crew was fighting in the corridors, but the human boarding parties moved through his ship like a plague. Activate heavy gravity, he ordered. Set all plates to maximum. The ship's gravity generators engaged. The corridor gravity jumped from standard 1.2 Gs to 4.2 Gs. Kryn soldiers could handle it for short periods, but it would slow them. It should stop the humans. In the corridor, Commander Lee felt the gravity change. His armor compensated automatically, servos whining as they took the extra load. Around him, his Marines adjusted their stance. 4 Gs, someone said, like being back home. They continued forward without slowing. On the bridge, Thaxel stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The humans had not even paused. Sub-Commander Rilix looked at his general with something like pity. I told you, General. These are Deathworlders. They grew up in twice this gravity. We cannot stop them with environmental controls. 3 Kryn cruisers tried to run. Admiral Kang saw them turn, engines burning hard as they accelerated away. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships deny their retreat. Disable engines, but do not destroy. We need prisoners for trial. The human destroyers moved to intercept. They were faster than the Kryn ships, more maneuverable. Within minutes, all 3 fleeing cruisers had crippled engines and dead weapon systems. This is Admiral Kang to Kryn vessels. You fired on civilians. You attempted genocide. You are guilty of crimes against sapient life. Surrender now and you will face trial. Continue to resist and you will die. You have 30 seconds to decide. On the Talon of Dominion, General Thaxel listened to the message and felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. These humans had come out of nowhere and destroyed his fleet in less than 20 minutes. They were boarding his flagship. They were giving him 30 seconds to surrender. He looked at Sub-Commander Rilix. Prepare self-destruct. We will take them with us. General, there are Valorian prisoners in the brig. 80 of them. I do not care. Activate self-destruct. 2 minutes. Rilix hesitated, then nodded. Admiral Kang Tae was drinking coffee when the distress signal arrived. It was bad coffee, the kind that came from recycled water and synthetic beans. But he had learned to like it during his 20 years in space. The mug stopped halfway to his lips when the alert klaxon sounded. Admiral to the bridge, the ship's AI announced. Priority distress signal received. Kang set down his mug and moved. He was 52 years old with gray in his hair and scars on his hands from the Titan Wars. He walked quickly but did not run. Running created panic, and panic killed people. The bridge of the UNSC Incheon was busy when he arrived. Officers sat at their stations, hands moving across holographic displays. Lieutenant Yoon Da looked up from navigation, his young face tight with concern. Admiral, we have a civilian distress call. Valorian transport convoy under attack. 47,000 refugees. Kryn Dominion warships. Kang stepped to the command platform. The tactical display showed the convoy's position, deep in neutral space. 8 Kryn warships surrounded 6 Valorian transports. As he watched, one of the transport ships vanished from the display. How long ago was this sent? 3 minutes, sir. 3 minutes. Light years away. People were dying right now, and the light from their deaths had not even reached Earth yet. Kang had seen this before. He had been too late before. Not today. Communication, send a response. Tell them we are coming. The young officer at comms hesitated. Sir, should we request authorization from Council Command? No. We are a sovereign military force responding to a distress call. Send the message now. Yes, sir. Kang watched the tactical display while his response was transmitted. 47,000 people, families, children probably. The Valorians were traders and builders, peaceful. They would have no idea how to fight the Kryn. Captain Park Bo entered the bridge, her uniform crisp despite the early hour. She commanded the destroyer Busan, one of 8 ships in Kang's fleet. She was 38 years old and had more confirmed kills than anyone else in the fleet. Orders, Admiral? Full deployment. All ships. Combat status. We jump in 30 minutes, Park Bo smiled. It was not a nice smile. The Kryn? Yes. Good. They have been pushing Council borders for months. Time to push back. Dr. Choi Hai arrived next, the fleet's chief xenobiologist. She was 45 with gray in her hair and gentle eyes that had seen too much death. Admiral, I heard the alert. Valorians? Yes, can they survive combat acceleration? No. Their biology is crystalline-based. Anything over 3 Gs will shatter their internal structures. They are very fragile, Kang nodded. He had guessed as much. Most species were fragile compared to humans. Earth's gravity was nearly 3 times what most Council worlds had. Humans had evolved strong bones, powerful muscles, and cardiovascular systems that could pump blood against tremendous pressure. What felt normal to humans killed other species. What about the Kryn? He asked. Reptilian. Forearms, tough scales. They can handle up to 4 Gs comfortably. Strong but not as adaptable as humans. Their weakness is heat regulation. They are cold-blooded. Noted. Kang turned to Lieutenant Yoon. Plot a jump. I want us to come out directly between the Valorians and the Kryn fleet. Close range. Within weapons range. Yoon's hands flew across his console. Sir, that is very dangerous. If we miscalculate by even a fraction, we could come out inside one of their ships. Can you do it? The young lieutenant met his eyes. Yes, sir. Then do it. Commander Lee Sang entered the bridge in full combat armor. He was 41 years old, built like a tank, and commanded the 1st Orbital Drop Battalion. 2,000 Marines ready to drop into hell on his order. Marines are ready, Admiral. What are we killing? Kryn warships. 8 of them. Probably 2,000 crew total. Odds seem fair. Lee Sang grinned. What are the rules of engagement? Kang thought about that. The Kryn had fired on civilian transports. They were slavers and conquerors. They had been testing Council space for months, seeing who would push back. Today they would get their answer. The Kryn fired first on civilians. They attempted genocide. There will be no warning shots. No negotiations. We fire until they surrender or die. If they try to run, we disable their engines and board them. I want prisoners for trial. I want evidence. But most of all, I want those refugees safe. Understood, sir. The bridge hummed with activity. Officers checked weapon systems, shield generators, and engine status. The Incheon was a carrier, massive and powerful. Around her, 8 destroyers and 3 cruisers prepared for combat. 12 human warships against 8 Kryn vessels. Most species would call it an even fight. Humans called it target practice. "Sir, we are ready to jump," Yoon reported. "All ships report ready," the communications officer added. Kang stood on his command platform and looked at his crew, young and old. Men and women. They came from Earth, Luna, Mars, the Belt. They spoke different languages and came from different cultures, but they were all human and they all understood one thing. When someone called for help, you answered. "Attention, all ships," Kang said into the fleet-wide channel. "We have received a distress call from civilian refugees under attack. 47,000 lives are at stake. The Kryn Dominion thinks they can prey on the weak without consequence. Today we show them they are wrong. Today we show the galaxy what humanity does when innocents are threatened. We go in hard. We hit first. We do not stop until every refugee is safe. This is what we trained for. This is why we are here. Do your duty. Protect the innocent. Show no mercy to those who give none." The crew responded with a unified "Yes, sir" that echoed through the bridge. Kang turned to Lieutenant Yoon. "Jump." Space twisted. The laws of physics bent. The human fleet vanished from forward base horizon and hurtled through dimensions that most species could barely understand. The journey would take 47 minutes. For the humans inside the ships, it felt like falling through darkness while invisible hands pressed them into their seats. Most alien species had to drug their crews for jump travel. The disorientation and pressure were too much. Humans just strapped in and waited. Dr. Choi stood beside Kang's chair, watching the jump timer count down. "Do you think we will be in time?" "I don't know," Kang said honestly. "But we will try. The council will be angry. We are supposed to request permission before military action. The council can be angry. I can write apology letters later. Right now people are dying." Choi smiled slightly. "This is why the other species fear us, you know. We do not hesitate. We do not debate. We see a problem and we move. Is that bad? No, but it is different. Most species evolved on peaceful worlds. They developed civilization without major predators, without constant danger. Earth was different. Earth tried to kill us every day. We learned to be fast, to be decisive, to work together or die alone. The other species did not have to learn those lessons." Kang nodded. He had read the xenopsychology reports. Humans were persistence hunters. They chased prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They healed from injuries that would kill other species. They could run marathons, survive in deserts and tundras, eat almost anything, and keep fighting with broken bones. Earth had forged humanity in fire and blood and ice. They had learned to be tough because anything else meant extinction. 30 minutes to target, Yoon reported. Kang opened a new recording. His words would reach the Valorians before his ships did. "This is Admiral Kang Tae of the United Nations Space Command. We have received your distress call. Resistance is en route. Do not surrender. Do not negotiate. Survive." He closed the recording and sent it. Park Bo looked at him. "Not very comforting. I am not here to comfort them. I am here to save them." The ship hummed around them. Weapons charged. Marines checked their gear. Pilots climbed into their fighters. The entire fleet prepared for violence. Somewhere ahead in the dark between stars, the Valorians were dying. The Kryn were laughing and humanity was coming. 20 minutes, Yoon called out. Kang settled into his chair and waited. He had been a soldier for 30 years. He had seen war on Luna, Mars, Titan, and Europa. He had lost friends, killed enemies, and made the hard choices that kept people alive. Today would be no different. The countdown continued. 15 minutes, 10, 5. "Prepare for combat emergence," Kang ordered. The crew tensed. This was the dangerous part. Coming out of jump space at combat speed directly into battle. One miscalculation and they would die before firing a shot. Jump complete in 3, 2, 1. Reality snapped back. Space twisted and tore, and the human fleet exploded into normal space directly between the Valorian convoy and the Kryn warships. Admiral Kang Tae looked at the tactical display. The Kryn ships were right where he wanted them. "All ships," he said calmly. "Open fire." The warning lights painted Captain Ziltara's face in shades of red. Her crystalline skin, normally glowing soft blue, now reflected the emergency colors that filled the bridge. Another explosion rocked the transport ship and she gripped her command chair to stay upright. "Shields at 30%, First Officer Peksun called out. His young voice cracked with fear. "Captain, we cannot survive another direct hit." Ziltara looked at the tactical display. 3 of their transport ships were already gone, just gone. 50,000 refugees had started this journey. Now only 47,000 remained alive. The Kryn warships circled them like predators, firing at will. Return fire, she ordered, knowing it was useless. The Valorian weapons were designed for mining asteroids and clearing space debris. They were never meant for war. The energy beams struck the Kryn shields and simply scattered away like rain on stone. The Kryn laughed at them. She could hear it on the open channel. "Surrender now," General Thaxel's voice boomed through the speakers. "Your ships will be scrap. Your people will be slaves. This is mercy." Ziltara closed her eyes. The Valorians were a peaceful race. They had been part of the Galactic Council for 3,000 years and never fired a weapon in anger. They traded, they built, they helped other species reach the stars. And now they were dying because they had no idea how to fight, Captain, Peksun whispered. "What do we do?" Another transport ship exploded on the screen. 15,000 lives snuffed out in an instant. The light from the explosion reached them a moment later, washing over the bridge windows like a wave of death. "Access the restricted database," Ziltara said quietly. Peksun stared at her. "Captain, that requires council authorization. We could be expelled from—" "We will be dead," Ziltara shouted. She never shouted. The bridge went silent. "Access it now. Search for military aid. Emergency protocols, anything." Peksun's hands trembled as he entered the forbidden codes. The database opened and pages of restricted information flooded his screen. Most of it was sealed behind encryption they could not break. But one file caught his attention. "Captain, there is something here. It is marked with warning symbols. Many warning symbols. What does it say? Deathworld Response Network. Use only in extinction-level events." Peksun read further, his bioluminescence flickering with confusion. It says this frequency reaches something called humans." Ziltara felt her heart skip. Humans. She had heard whispers about them. The newest species to join the council. The ones that came from a world so hostile, so deadly, that most species could not even land there without dying. Class 12 gravity. Extreme weather. Predators that hunted in packs. Diseases that killed in days. The Galactic Council had debated for years whether to accept humanity. Some species argued they were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. But Earth had passed all the requirements. They had unified their world, developed faster than light travel, and agreed to council laws. Yet most species avoided humans. There was something about them that felt wrong. They moved like hunters. They smiled with teeth. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day, and somehow they had won. "Captain, the Kryn are charging weapons again. They are targeting the refugee clusters." Ziltara made her decision. She reached forward and activated the communications panel herself. "Send a distress signal on that frequency. All channels. Maximum power, but Captain, the warnings, send it!" The signal burst outward into space, carrying a simple message in the common trade language. "Civilian transport convoy under attack by Kryn Dominion forces. 47,000 refugees. Requesting immediate assistance." Coordinates attached. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. The Kryn ships moved closer, weapons glowing hot. Ziltara prepared to give the evacuation order, knowing most of her people would die in the escape pods before rescue could arrive. Then the communications panel crackled to life. A voice answered. It was rough, efficient, speaking in a language the translator struggled with. The words came through harsh and mechanical. Message received. Calculating jump coordinates. Human fleet en route. Estimated arrival 47 minutes. Hold position. Casualties acceptable. The connection cut off. Peksun stared at the display. They said casualties acceptable. They mean us, don't they? They expect us to die. No, Ziltara said slowly. She replayed the message in her mind. The tone was not cruel. It was tactical, honest. They are telling us that they know some of us may die before they arrive. They are not promising miracles. They are promising to come. 47 minutes, Peksun whispered. We have maybe 10. Then we survive for 10 minutes. Ziltara opened the ship-wide channel. All vessels, this is Captain Ziltara. Help is coming. We must hold for 47 minutes. Divert all power to shields. Engines to minimum. We do not need to fight. We only need to survive. On the tactical display, the Kryn flagship moved forward. General Thaxel opened a video channel. The massive reptilian filled the screen. His forearms spread wide, his scales covered in battle scars. I intercepted your transmission, he said. Humans, I have never heard of them. No matter. They will arrive to find only debris and bodies. I give you one final chance. Surrender now, and I will let half of you live as slaves. Ziltara straightened in her chair. Her voice was steady. We have called for help. It is coming. You should leave while you can. Thaxel laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound. You called for help from a species that joined the Council last year. A species that most of the galaxy fears and avoids. You know what I think? I think they will not come. I think they will ignore you. And even if they do come, what can one species do against the might of the Kryn Dominion? I suppose we will find out, Ziltara said calmly. She cut the transmission. Another explosion rocked the ship. The shields dropped to 18%. On the sensor display, she watched the countdown timer. 45 minutes until the humans arrived. If they arrived, if they were real, if they could actually help against the Kryn warships. Ziltara looked at her crew, young Pexon at the communications station, old Vexara at weapons, tiny Lilop at navigation, all of them looking at her with crystal eyes full of fear and trust. Bring up the Earth database entry, she said quietly. I want to know who we just called. Pexon worked his console and information scrolled across the screen. Ziltara read it and her bioluminescence dimmed with each line. Class 12 gravity world. Lethal atmosphere to most species. Dominant predators evolved as persistence hunters. Highly aggressive bacterial and viral ecosystem. Average lifespan despite hostile conditions. 80 standard years. Population 12 billion. Military capability. Unconfirmed but estimated extreme. And at the bottom, a note from the Council observer who had visited Earth. These beings evolved in hell and made it their home. I do not recommend making them angry. Ziltara closed the file. She looked out the window at the Kryn ships circling closer, weapons hot, ready to kill. 43 minutes, she said to no one in particular. We hold for 43 minutes. The lights flickered again. The shields dropped to 15%. And somewhere in the darkness of space something was coming. Something from a death world. Something that had answered their call.